I got it. Okay. So, the reason that we're all here, it sounds like to me, like all you guys are similar to me, and that you have left the business world because of basically this problem, right? Imbalanced relationships occur when we judge the intent, and you're always creating some kind of master-slave relationship in a business model. And the modern corporate business model. That's why you become an independent contractor because you don't want, you want freedom. You want to be able to work for yourself. If somebody is taking more of the profits than everybody else, then it actually encourages people to quit working for that person eventually, to develop themselves in a better way, make more money, more freedom from themselves. And so that lower, model that I show there is just this, you know, what is the main problem with the modern corporate structure, because you're controlling from the inside out and from the outside. Every business, all of us are actually controlled from the outside. And, the more we listen and can provide for our environment, the better. But that circuit gets interrupted when you try to control too much from the inside. I'm sure all of you guys have been in bigger business structures that have fallen apart or fell in some kind of conflict for that reason, right? If you're not just purely service based, then it doesn't work out. And so that healthy structure of providing and supporting one another breaks down when if I'm trying to control you, you're not going to be happy with me, right? If I'm listening to you and then provide for what you're asking for, that creates a healthy relationship. So, I mean, that bottom picture kind of says it all, right? The first stage is it turns into people just getting distracted because they don't want to listen to what somebody's trying to get out of them. And so that's what we see now. Our entire business world is falling apart because of that one scenario on the bottom, where you've got somebody that's blaming somebody else. And the reason that they're blaming them is that unconsciously they're drawing energy off of them, and that other person is trying to protect their energy and just being distracted, and it just doesn't work. So you've got this giant exodus from the business world, right? And so now we're in a place where we've got entrepreneurs, finding their way through coaching. And either there's basically two big types of entrepreneurs out there, right? Either we're coaching and consulting other businesses, or we're market content marketers. You're both of those positions are facilitators. You're facilitating the growth of something else, whether you're doing it through marketing or you're doing it through facilitating the growth of the individual person, right? You're teaching somebody how to become more confident, making sure that they're setting the right boundaries in their relationships in their business, establishing better communication techniques, all that stuff. But for that reason, over the last 2 or 3 years, that the very reason why all of us are facilitators is why the gross national product is decreasing. The products, because we're actually making less products in this country because those bigger businesses are self-destructing. So the inflation rate goes up. It's just the standard economic model. If you don't have physical products to sell and the quality of those products go down, the inflation rate goes up, which means the average consumer is spending more of their budget on their basic needs instead of spending extra money on facilitators like us. So, and I've actually seen this in the industry. It's slow. I mean, there's like a slow burn of slowly more and more, even some of the older coaches and consultants, it looks like they're slowly getting less and less work. And you can kind of see it in the way that they're advertising. So, I mean, what has that created in our society? These underlying market fundamentals we see them as energetic blockages that are showing their way up in all of our social media platforms. They're talking about YouTube. Now, before I get to, the provide and naturally attract theology, when you look at YouTube, some of the most successful people on YouTube have already conquered that strategy, right? Like, especially in the car market. Like if you look at Cletus McFarlane or Derek, the guy from Vice Grip Garage, all those guys, they figured this out where all they have to do is provide content for each other and share airtime, and they get more viewers, resulting in more ad time. So you get advertisers that flock because, they're just creating content for each other. They're providing for each other, and then they're just naturally attracting what they need. Now, some of those YouTubers, all they're doing is just doing giveaways just to attract more people to just watch the channel. All they need is somebody to watch the channel, and they're getting ad space. They'll get vendors that want to just give stuff away on their channel. I mean, it's a simple model, and marketers have started to understand that. The most successful marketers on LinkedIn right now are like Halataha or Darren or some of these other people that we go meetings for that have figured out that the more they can provide their community, the more they naturally attract what they somebody to actually purchase the extended version of their product, because all they have to do is provide just enough for people to get that they know what they're doing to get the outcome that they're somebody's going to desire. Same thing's happening on YouTube, it's happening on LinkedIn, it's happening on Instagram, but that's slowly slowing down, and you can see the indicators like through Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, I'm sure you guys noticed, went through the roof a couple weeks ago because the inflation rate's getting high enough where people are starting to say, okay, dollar's falling, got to jump into virtual currencies. But it's always this interplay that keeps shifting back and forth as the market slowly starts dropping off. There's really not a safe spot until you start increasing the gross national product, because it doesn't matter where currency isn't the ultimate solution. It's creativity, right? If you're not building products, it doesn't matter how much money you dump into a virtual coin or whatever. If nobody's building anything, people end up starving, right? I mean, that's the ultimate, end result of that. Uh, so where are we at now? I just kind of covered this, right? We're at a lot more and more individual contractors, more businesses, which has resulted from a lot of businesses laying people off. I was just talking to a psychologist the other day where she was trying to refer somebody, an engineer that had just gotten laid off, who was going to go work for, or didn't know where he was going to work. He was starting to get upset, so he was really getting down on himself. And she was going to refer him to somebody else who could help him with his business profile a little bit in order to get him work, because either you work for yourself, or you look for a similar company, but if they're all laying off and they're all retracting assets in a declining market, what's his option? He can become one of us. All of a sudden, he's just a facilitator and nothing's getting built anymore. Not a very good trend, right? That trend it keeps going in that direction, and more facilitators means higher, risk in the marketplace. So this is ultimately, I believe, where we're headed. Real business structures that are structured more like the human body, right? A organic system, because a lot of times those old business structures kind of create their own nightmare in a way. If you're in a master slave relationship, it creates a situation where people are questioning their self-worth all the time. It's like, oh, I need to get to this position because I'm not, I'm worth a lot more than what I'm getting paid. But at the same time, the competition to get to that position creates the conflict within the system, and there's no creativity, right? Once you master yourself and you can, master your own creativity, and it enables you to serve people, you want to help people get to that state. But at the same time, you still have to sell an individual service. And so you're still fighting those overall market conditions that created that in the first place. So ultimately, as those business structures break down, the idea is to create a boat of a healthy business structure where you end up just creating star groups. You really don't need managers if you're working together in a healthy system. We have software that can help groups make decisions together now. We don't have to rely on one person to make a decision for me or you, right? You just make group decisions and start stacking teams together that actually primarily do certain work, right? Where you got a team for product development and the product, you have a team for marketing, you have a team for financial, and you're always going to have a team. Everybody and every unit is going to have a team that keeps the structure together, right? Your coaching or human resources department. Human resources in the old structure will be the first ones to tell you that the management structure is what causes them the most headache. I mean, you can interview any human resource guy in the old structure, and they're all going to tell you that the management structure creates the most headache for those guys. But so for that reason, if you can create a healthy business model, that old system goes away. And where I see the most opportunity in the market are all the free radicals, us, whether it's an engineer that just got laid off, or all you have to do is create something to pull things together, and then create a obviously the best opportunity is to recreate this structure and sell that to especially university students who don't have a place to go in the corporate world. Say, hey, look, you guys can build whatever you want. This is the model, this mutual incentive, mutual accountability model, something that self-regulates within teams. You can create contracts and digital contracts that where the business itself self-regulates, and if there's a major conflict, you're always going to have somebody there to fix a major conflict. And you need to give power within the organization to kick somebody out if they're causing a bad problem. And that's the main reason why most people want to stay as main individual contractors. But if you can connect in the right way under the right contract, you actually create way more freedom for yourself, right? And if everybody has the right incentive, then you're working a lot less hours through the day. You have a set of tasks that you perform for the group, and then we're all living a much freer lifestyle. The reason there's no freedom in the old model is pretty obvious. We're looking at next gen models that are actually going to start way more creative. I mean, it unlocks creative energy. That's the whole reason behind it, so that we can create products that are actually providing for the marketplace. And I mean, I believe that's the biggest opportunity right now. I created an 11-page contract to that effect. I don't know if I sent that to you or not, Samir, but it's you want to create a contract and a model that allows it to grow as the business grows, to make sure that everybody's interests are maintained. And there's a way to you want to make sure that everybody's interests get maintained, and there's a way to push combative foreign bodies out of the system, right? That's the main problem with the old model. There's so many governmental rights restrictions. You have to create a contract that allows any group to exit somebody that's causing a problem, because as soon as you have somebody that's in a bad way, that's not hasn't mastered themselves in whatever way it is, and they're feeding off the people around them, that's what destroys the creativity rate, right? If you're constantly taking care of somebody, then you're not building what you need to build for the business. So I'll leave it at that. You can exit the slideshow and just open it. I know I covered a lot of stuff there, but most of it has to do with the self, right? I mean, if you're helping other people, you have to intuitively know what people need. And so I think the biggest opportunity are for people like us who have already, gotten to a certain state of personal evolution to where we could manage a self-regulating business to where and provide structures for the community, because there is a storm coming. And I guess I could ask you guys that question. How soon do you guys feel like that's coming? Because I was involved with a big accident at work, and I could feel that accident coming. I didn't know it was coming specifically, but I could tell by the conflict rate of the people around me that something was disastrous was going to happen pretty quick. You want to create a lifeboat that you can jump to when something happens, right? A group of people that can support one another. I mean, that's the idea behind it. So
I've seen it changing pretty significantly since I started going into this space about a year ago. And I will say that's a little bit biased because prior to being in this space, I was in the corporate tech world, and it's not something that I was even aware of. I was definitely in a different bubble. And now that I'm in this particular bubble, I think that's something that we should all consider as well, is the fact that we are, in a sense, like isolating ourselves from how that corporate world is functioning and how it's currently structured right now as well.
right.
But when I do engage with the clients, when I do engage with the people that I'm working with, I see, obviously I see people holding on to that kind of old school structure of, you know, I'm the boss and this is what you guys need to do. And I've seen
Right.
how that can make people stressed out, how it can affect the bottom line of what they're offering and how they're affecting their customers. And you're basically eliminating that human element from wherever you're working, and it turns into kind of toxic workplace where people are literally working to work and then they're leaving and then they're doing their own thing completely separate from that after.
Yeah, all they're
Um,
doing is eliminating stress when they're off work because there's so much stress when they go to work.
yeah, yeah. And it's really, I mean, it's why I quit in the first place. And it's why I've, had my first midlife crisis, if you will, and figuring out what I want to do and how I want to do it. And it's certainly, and the main reason was because I found myself becoming okay with the idea of treating people as resources as opposed to treating people as people. And I looked inward on myself. I reflected on that, and I said, "Is that what I want to look back in 30 years and say that I accomplished was to be able to fire people?" And that's not what it's about. And so it's, as much as money is important, it's more important to be able to showcase compassion for people. And when that happens, you're going to have a better business environment.
Right. Yeah, well said. And it's like, you know, the purpose behind coaching when you see in the larger coaching community. So uh, it's very difficult to put yourself, and I always understood this when you're trying to lift somebody up, right? Somebody comes to you, I need a coach. So you're trying to empower somebody to try and get them to an energetic state where their mindset is correct, where they can move forward positively. But at the same time, you're their coach. So you're always putting yourself in an unequal value system of some kind, right? You're paying me to do something. And that's why, in a lot of ways, I was passionate about just creating an equal value structure that operates like a healthy organism, right? Like your own body, like anybody's own body. Because there isn't one part of your body that is more or less important than the other. If I chop my arm off, I'm limiting my production in quite a bit, right? So it's like, um, you really have to, it doesn't matter what somebody wants to do. If you create the right structure, you can evolve in whatever you want to do, right? It's much easier to move from positions at that point too. When you're in a hierarchical system, you have to kiss someone's ass to get a job. It's not healthy in any way, right? It's a um and I just got done actually doing a podcast this morning with somebody where we were talking about how college and the white collar versus blue collar mentality has kind of created that. You've got people that come out of college and they went into a management structure where they didn't have any experience running the types of jobs that they're running. And then it gets super destructive because they have no experience and no insight as to what those people need. So they come up with ideas that don't work. And so businesses stopped hiring out of college. That's what's created the mental health crisis in college. Because now college kids are like, oh crap, now what are we going to do? Because they are not hiring what they used to hire. Um, yeah, I mean, I'll let you guys speak on it. Anybody could speak up on that, but it's like that whole system is slowly breaking down. And that's what's caused all of us that want to market as facilitators. I mean, to me, the best opportunity in the market right now is for those college kids. Because if you think about it, all the best products came from kids out of college, whether it was Jobs or Gates or all those guys were inventors out of college and just worked with their buddies. And then they just created a business around it.
Well, what about, I mean, the product has been changing too, right?
Yeah.
Significantly. The college when we were in college and when we were coming out of it was much different. Like the idea was to be able to go into a job, go into the job market and get that full-time job. And that was like my dad, he was not born in the United States. And so I'm the first eldest son of a foreign guy. And he's very much like, you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer.
Right.
Those are choices. I went into engineering because of him. The rest of my family was social work. They're teachers. And now 15 years after, I've been in the field doing, not as much engineering, but tech stuff. I realized that that I am a teacher. So I'm actually working on building that side of my business out as well. I tutor kids, I tutor students, so I can hopefully share some of the insight that I've gleaned over this time, and understanding that that product from the get-go now, as kids come out of college, or what would be equivalent to college nowadays, because it's not necessarily going to be that 4-year degree that's the
Right.
right thing. And it's going to turn into something where we don't know. we're old farts talking about this stuff. We don't know what the new product is yet. And I think that's an important aspect, especially with how technology has been changing so quickly lately. AI is changing how we do things, software development is changing. Everything that we're doing is more accessible. It's becoming more saturated, but it's also, if we don't embrace that and if we don't continue to make those changes and evolve with those changes, then we're going to be stuck with that model that 4-year degree was what we did, and that's what we're going to fall back into, that same old, management structure that we're kind of arguing against right now.
Yeah. I think the
Yeah.
last thing that all of us want, though, is to start talking to each other through AI bots. Right. I mean,
I
is
would,
that what
I would,
Brian actually said, or did he hit the AI button?
I would agree. I would agree, but I would also say there were people when email first came out that said, "I don't want to talk to someone via email,"
Right.
or "I don't want to
Yeah.
write letters to people. I'm going to have to go meet them in person." That was a thing, and so that's what I mean by like embracing that change as it comes. I mean, as right now, I'm studying how literacy has changed over the last 50 years or so. And people were writing a lot more essays, writing a lot more articles, writing a lot more letters to people back in the day. And you could argue that we're not writing as much now. But then if you think about it, we're writing significantly more. We're texting, we're emailing, we're posting, social media. Our literacy, the way that we're writing, the way that we're communicating is actually just shifting in a different form. I mean, and we're not even going into like the Snapchats of the world where it's like a one-off send message that gets deleted after, a certain amount of hours, right? So sorry, I'm rambling. Part of
Yeah.
my communication.
But actually you touched on teaching kids. So that's why I focus on this, because if there's nothing more that I would love to do than give kids who haven't broken down their creative drive. Because you've got college kids that still believe in their creative drive. There's people in the business world that have been there for 10 years where their creativity is shot because they have been in that system for so long. That's why I generally don't try to consult bigger businesses or businesses at all. I'm more interested in providing a structure for kids to unlock their creativity, because that's the future of where our society needs to go. So why wouldn't I want to build a structure and provide a structure for anybody who's dropping out of the system that wants to create something, start building gross national product up, or college kids exiting the system so that they can start building then you just become a part of that system. If it's an equal value system, now you're just picking which product or which project you want to help facilitate.
Hmm.
That to me, that's a dream job. And it's being ignored by the community because they're locked in an old mindset, right?
Yeah. Between that and if I share what I'm working on, someone's gonna steal it.
Yeah. But if
Yeah.
I'm providing something that everybody can work underneath in a healthy way, I don't need to charge any money for it. I'd rather just provide it to you guys and say, even if you don't want to work with me, eventually we'll work together anyway, right? Because we'll be
Right.
part of a team that's connecting with another team that's providing a product to support that team. It's really that simple. It's just we're moving into a different world. And so, we really are. The old world is going away. And the sooner, the faster you can get into the new model, the more, you're going to be ahead of everybody, because everybody else will be trying to fit into it. But then it's like, okay, what do you have to offer? We already have facilitators. We already have this and that, the old facilitators won't be needed as much. They'll have to gain new skill sets in order to fit in, so that the earlier you can build it, the better, and supply it.
Yeah. And to the point of facilitators, yes, we have a boatload of facilitators, but when one facilitator doesn't work with another facilitator, the company involved now has to look for a facilitator in every area.
Right. You're always going to need facilitators in every business model. I don't care what it is, because there's always going to be conflicts that rise. You're going to have to break down lines of communication every once in a while. But the healthier you can build the structure at the beginning, the less, those things don't develop at a lot lower rate, right? And then it forces people to grow, especially when you're like accountable to your peers that you're working with, and you guys it becomes easy to see who's not thinking that they're accountable, or they're not, maybe they're shuffling their workload on somebody else. Like, hey, dude, you need to improve your performance here. And to be honest, in that old structure, it's so much less productive. You could do, and if you're working as a team, like, and you have no external pressures, you can do 5 times the work that somebody else could in 40-hour week. You'd probably only need to work 15, 20 hours a week, especially if you're only focusing on one task. And then, you know, everybody else is working their ass off and doing less. I mean, it's really that simple. Yeah. You have anything to add, Vladimir? I know you're a negotiations guy, so you're kind of a mediator of conflicts, I would say.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. It's very interesting, though. I admit it's a little bit over my head because I cannot really get a good grasp of what the problem is. Like you're saying that there's not enough creativity. Okay, like what is causing? I mean, you say this is the structure that's causing that. And then I'm thinking, okay, what is in this structure that is preventing creativity? Because I'm trying to think this. Okay, let's say I'm a CEO. I need to do certain things. Well, I need to grow business because first of all, uh, I need to I need to have cash. It's like blood flow. In order to accomplish certain things, like in order to sustain myself, for example, or if I want to scale the business and I want to do more and serve more customers, I need cash flow. So I need to do marketing. I need to
Not
do
necessarily.
sales.
You need people to do work.
I need to
I
do
I would
products.
disagree with that statement, because cash is only enabling you to control the actions of someone else. If you have people that agree to do those actions, then you can create a product to build the cash. Basically, the problem I'm saying is that physical products for physical cash creates an equal balance system in the system. When you have too many facilitators, where, like, if I'm charging you directly for something, nothing's being created. So you're trading cash for time instead of cash for a product that time built. There is a director. That's why
I
the
struggle
whole
with it.
that's
I
why the
struggle.
economic model has always been centered around gross national product versus inflation or deflation. Most people don't understand that relationship.
Yeah,
Uh, it, it,
could you fill me in? What does it mean, like facilitator, and what is the problem with facilitator?
well, there's really no problem with facilitating. I mean, we'll always need facilitators because you're always moving information for each other. But if you can do it inside of an equal value system, you're recognizing that everybody has information that's valuable. I'm not the only one that has information that's valuable. Like, I'll be the first one to tell you, hey, I need help building this model. I can build a structure all day long. But if I have to do all my own content marketing, all my own financials, all my own legal, that doesn't make sense, right? It creates stress in and you, versus in a healthy group of people that are providing the information that they have for each other. Um, so that's kind of off the point, but it's like, if we all became facilitators for each other, and if people keep dropping out of that old system and less is being created, nobody has any money to buy groceries anymore, because the only people that are creating physical products are farmers and, you know, parts for, shelter, because it would just fall into just people primarily just taking care of shelter and food, utilities, keep the power on. Those are the only people that have jobs left. All the facilitator jobs go away because everybody has to concentrate on their basic needs. Um, so creativity is
Facilitator
everything.
jobs. What facilitator? Like, there's a category of jobs that are facilitator jobs, and there's another category of jobs that are not facilitator jobs, right? So who could we include in facilitator jobs?
I would say everybody outside of building a physical product is a facilitator of some kind. Even if you're doing financials, you're facilitating the moving of money in that system. If you're a coach, you're coaching somebody on how to improve their mindset. If I'm a consultant for a business, I'm facilitating a more efficient business model for that business. I think you're always going to have facilitators. If you're a teacher, you're a facilitator for a bunch of kids, right? You're helping kids grow. You're providing them information. Um, unless there's a physical product to trade for cash, though, that's the reason why the inflation rate goes up. It's
What
just
if I write a what if I write a book? Is it
that's a physical
facilitator?
product. Yeah, for sure. You're
So
creating
wait
a
a
physical
second.
product.
It's a physical product because I wrote a book. What if I just create a soundtrack? Is that is
Yeah, I
that
would say anything you can
facilitator?
purchase that's a physical thing, other than it's not like you paying me money to talk you down off a ledge, right? It's like see, everything else is kind of a facilitator of some kind, you know. Yeah,
So teacher is a facilitator, but the book is not facilitator.
right,
If
right,
I
because you
don't
don't need
teach,
the teacher there. Somebody's just reading a book. There,
if
it's
I
you're taking the
don't
human
teach
element
kids,
out of it.
oh
Basically, it's
well,
a human element versus a physical product.
so you're saying that if I write a book, if I write big enough book and somebody will read it, I'm not needed anymore as a teacher. Is that right?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, maybe there was something that you didn't cover and somebody wants to come in. I mean, that's why books are so important. And books are, to me, books are priceless. You know, I think I just got done finished writing a book and I'm writing another book for that reason. Because there's no way that the knowledge that I have, I can reach everyone through doing weekly co-created, podcasts. I would just as soon say, hey, this person found this material good. Let's read his book, or maybe a process for self-development. I mean, there's so much information out there. For me, it's very hard for me to sell services for self-development. It's not a secret. Self-development is not a secret anymore. Anybody can go out there and learn to meditate, do yoga, master themselves in so many different ways. That's not, to me, I want to provide something for the community that the community needs or is going to need here real soon. I mean, that's why
Uh,
I'm doing what I'm doing.
Well, I'll ask you this. Let's say you went to a ski resort and you want to ski and you you put on skis and you try to do a couple of runs from the green and you really dream to do the black diamonds. You need to you need to actually get there somehow, but the risks are high. What would you do? You would hire
There's always going to be a place for a teacher.
you
I've
could you could
always
you
needed new
could you
teachers.
could
Yeah.
watch a YouTube. You could like do it yourself at home kind of training for ski, but it doesn't mean that you get that quickly to that black diamonds as if you just hire a coach and after a couple of days you will be skiing black diamonds.
Yeah.
I mean, you will not be the quickest guy there, but you will be able to do that.
Yeah. And I'm,
Yeah,
I'm not
but
saying that coaches are a bad thing. I'm just saying there's so many in the market. That's what's creating the inflation rate.
Okay, so that kind of shaking the model of the facilitator concept because like it depends on how many of them then I mean you're becoming facilitator is there too many of them in the market I don't want to challenge your system. I just want to understand, you know, I have a hard time to understand what the problem is because let's take those agile people, okay? So those agile people at some point they were like gods, like, oh gosh, you can actually restructure something or create some other process, and then all of a sudden the productivity goes up. So now we are thinking about, okay, there are 3.6 million of agile coaches in the market, and maybe even 4 million. In 4 years, it will be double of this. Um, do we need that many? So from this perspective, agile professionals becoming facilitators, but they're not creating any product. They're not really producing anything.
Right.
And so the market, so in other words, it's if the market demand is smaller than the supply, that that should correct itself. But this is a market thing. I mean,
Yeah.
what is the idea here? Kind of like catch that moment and cut the supply at some point. I mean, what's the idea?
Well, the idea is to build a boat before the system crashes. That's the idea.
Well, the system crashed because of the flaw in the, for example, take agile certifications, okay?
Mhm.
How hard is to become agile professional? You need $1,000 in 2 days. You
Mhm.
could be an Uber driver, pay for training for 2 days, pay $1,000. You are a new Scrum Master. That's a flaw in the system. And if you have system as easy as this to become a master, then at some point it's going to crash.
Right.
So the question is, what's the flaw? I mean, do we
And I think
actually
it's
need
an
to build a
overall
boat?
tendency
Yeah.
in the system because it comes down to creativity. People don't like not being able to be creative. That's why people go home and they work with their buddies to build projects, and they don't like to do it at work because that model doesn't work. It's a spiritual thing. I mean, they call it a spiritual awakening, but it has more to do with, understanding where you're putting your energy and if you're wasting your energy. If I'm putting my energy into somebody that's making more money off of my back, I'm wasting my energy. That's why people become independent contractors. And just the sheer number that if the number of independent contractors are going up, the inflation rate's going to go up. It's just a simple static. I mean, it's a static model. It's really easy. It doesn't matter if you're a facilitator or building a physical product. Just the sheer fact of being an independent contractor and an increasing number of them will create an escalating inflation rate, period. Doesn't matter what you're doing.
Contractor. Who you call contractor?
I would define all of us here as individual contractors because none of us have signed. Unless you've signed a contract with somebody that's just doing marketing for you or something like that, right? Maybe you've partnered with somebody that might be doing marketing or, client reach out or something. But other than that, you're an individual contractor.
Okay, so if there will be more, self-employed people in the market, that's going to be increasing inflation. That's the
Oh, for
idea.
sure, yeah, definitely. Because everyone
Or-
is trying to put money in their own pocket from the community at an imbalanced rate. So you have to keep flooding the market with currency in order to keep it alive. It's like everybody picture just a lot of individuals feeding off of each other energetically. You have to keep putting energy into the system or else it comes apart.
Okay, maybe I started to kind of understanding something here. So the idea is, if I don't collaborate with others who are professionals and do things more efficiently, I spend more energy on doing something, many things less efficiently. And because of this, the amount of products I can produce decreases, and that decreases the GDP. Is that
Exactly. I
is
would
that the
say
idea?
that's exactly a really good way to put it because if you have to do everything for your business, you're going to be less productive. If I am doing one task, even for 15 hours a week, I'll be way more productive than if I have to do my own sales, marketing, coaching, all that stuff, right? Financials, legal, everything. You're doing everything, right?
Well, you'll be productive in that one area,
Yeah, for sure.
right? Right. If you are running a business, which we all are, and if you're doing something, then you're going to have to at least have some type of topical working knowledge of each of those individual places, right? And you're going to have to do that. And I think what the kind of the main issue with this is the fact that there's so much saturation now with just people in general. There's so many people, and there's so many people now starting to wake up a little bit and realize that working within the red tape that is a giant corporation. Let's say, I don't know, Wells Fargo, for example,
Right.
a big bank. I know a lot of people that work at a company like this that will go in, work 9 to 5, do their job, and they will accomplish nothing the entire week because they're just working within that whole system
Yeah.
of, excuse my language, of some bullshit that was created for some process that doesn't really function anymore. And
Right.
and the thing is, some people are happy with that. They're comfortable with that because they know exactly, they're not thinking, they're not being creative, like you said,
They're
because they're
getting a
not having
paycheck.
to be,
They're living.
yeah, yeah. Or living, you can say living or whatever it is, right? But you're not really understanding like what it is and what you're trying to do, because you're not actually doing anything. Again, I'm not knocking it. There's benefits, right? Within the system that our society functions in,
Yeah.
there's healthcare, right? We need to pay for utilities. We need to pay for this. And how do we pay for things? Well, we need banks. We need money. We need, this system to work. And the system that's created with corporations right now is supporting that overall system of helping us live in that 9 to 5 type mentality.
Yeah.
And when you start to realize that you can break out of that, which a lot of people are, and more people are realizing that, then you're going to get that saturation. It's a little bit of a two-edged sword, right? Both ways, just because we have the amount of people. And it happens with anything, with everything. So many people thought you could be famous doing YouTube back in 2010. Now that's an oversaturation, obviously now, and people are now, there's certainly low income professionals working in YouTube and creating content for not much money at all, right? That's the common thing.
Yeah, but you still fall back on, we're in that intermediate state, right? Over the last 10 years, and we've seen that, where it's just the exodus has caused the situation where we're at now. And eventually it has to create a new structure. I mean, structure moves energy. It's part of the state of reality. You cannot pull yourself out of the state of reality. How you structure yourself, how you think about yourself, how you structure your day. Everything depends on structure that moves energy. And you move less energy if you have an inefficient structure. It's that simple. And if you have a lot of free radicals in the system, or AKA independent contractors, there's no structure, none whatsoever. That's why you have to throw so much energy into that to try and keep that system afloat. That's why the inflation rate goes up. Until you build a healthy structure, like a natural organism, you won't move enough energy to unlock the human creative potential that has still been yet to unlocked, I would argue.
Yeah, I hope so. Right.
Well,
That's
so-
kind of that's the whole dream for all of us.
Right.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
is the idea here? We need to somehow limit the free radicals.
Well, it's unstructured energy, right? It's just banging against each other.
How could you actually decrease the free radicals in the system? What is the proposal?
Just by creating structure and offering it to the system, right? All you're doing is building a structure and then emulating that structure for the system to unlock its creative potential. Because as a free radical, you and I, like, I can't, if each of us individually are selling our service to somebody, the four of us can't build a product together. There's no way. There's no way we could. So nothing's being built. I mean, there's no the creativity is dropping, and that's the reason. Because free radicals don't create anything. Your body has to get rid of free radicals. It has to exit them in the system. So it's like, think of the whole earth as a living unit, right? It's not the more it gets separated, the more conflicts are in the system. And free radicals just create just soup, you have to get rid of it. If there's no structure, it doesn't move energy. I mean, I'm an electrician. I was an electrician for years. I know everything about building structure and moving energy. And if it's an inefficient structure, it doesn't move energy efficiently. I mean, it's really that simple. So
could you give an example of, when those free radicals getting, eliminated or converted, if you would, when the structure is provided? I just kind of get a
right.
grasp.
So let's say I grew up with a group of people and I came up with this business model and said, look, I built a structure, maybe a contract, maybe it's a digital contract. And then have a marketing team that provides that structure for college kids coming out of college. Say, hey, look, and this is my sales pitch. It's like, you guys don't need to go work for somebody else. You guys can build whatever you want to build. All you need is this, and this. Look for it in the marketplace. Show them what you have. This is all you need is manpower. You don't need money. As soon as you have manpower, you can build a product within, depending on the complexity of the product. If you had a group of software engineers that were good software engineers, they could build a product in 2 months, have it to market, and be selling a product with a marketing team, already have a structure in place, legal department, everything within 2 months. Tell me where else in the marketplace that's being offered. It's not. There's nobody else in the marketplace is offering something like that. Because everybody wants you to go through them, make them money. Right? That's why. It's greed. It's all greed based. It has nothing to do with unlocking the human creative potential. It's about putting money in my pocket. It's that simple.
Well, for some people it's greed, for some people it's survival.
Well, sure. If you're only worried about your own survival, that's the actually the mindset that people don't understand, is that when you provide for your environment, it provides for you. If you try to take from your environment, it has a tendency to want to take from you. And that's why marriages don't work. If they that's the two situation, right? If you're not providing for your wife, or if you're not providing for each other, that relationship's not going to work out very well. It's a simple relationship problem. It really is basic that relationships build everything. And then understanding how to structure those relationships, it really is everything.
Well, right, I'm struggling now. How would I afford having a house if I only participate in the not freelance, but pro bono work? Like, how am I supposed to
Pro
put
bono work.
bread and butter on my table if I don't get any salary? Like, how it's supposed to work?
Just the same marketing strategies that I kind of covered at the beginning, right? You're providing first and then attracting, but so you're providing a limited product. But I'm actually selling that product, right? The product that's enabling the college kids to build what they want to build. So I'm building a product that is empowering somebody to build their whatever they want to build. I don't know where that else is being done in society, where somebody is building a product that gives you a structure to build whatever you want to build without depending on them. So you're actually selling a physical. I'm not talking about not using money. I'm talking about providing something so that empowers somebody else to provide what they want to provide.
Okay, so you do get money for what
Right.
you're
You're
selling.
just building something. And you're enabling somebody else to build something as well.
Okay, so we're back to the idea that we do need exchange.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
You're just building smaller structures to take up all those free radicals, healthier structures. And eventually those structures will keep pulling back together. So like obviously, if I built a structure to provide a structure for somebody else and sell it to them, eventually, if they see that I'm working underneath that model and they can see that I can partner with me to facilitate more structures, that's in their best interest. Now they can start, that's when you start unlocking all that big human creativity. And
So
you're
if I
still
kind
selling
of,
stuff. What's that, Neil?
sorry, if I kind of try to put this in a different set of words, what I'm understanding is, so we have all these free radicals, we're bringing them together under an umbrella of cooperation. You have these people that are creating these things. So these free radicals that are brought together are connecting or pulling together with the creators, and in the process working together to produce an outcome, and then everybody benefits from that outcome.
Oh yeah, you're always going to benefit from providing something that empowers somebody else. They'll die for you, man. I mean, if you empower people to do things, at no strings attached, just sell them a simple product. I mean, yeah, I'd die for somebody. If somebody empowered me to build what I want to build, it's like, hey, I'm going to go back to, dude, I'll serve that person forever, right? You're going to go back to the people that provided for you, just the same way you always serve your parents. Your parents provided for you when you were growing up. You never abandon your parents. So it's kind of almost like a parent-child relationship where you're teaching kids to become more empowered and build what they want to build, Really is
I
that.
think the idea is, and I'll say this because personally, I've worked in the tech field for 15 years. I said that a couple times here.
Yeah.
Clearly, it has left a scar. But I was stressed out so much about getting a promotion, becoming a manager, managing people, having a team, having this accountability within the construct of what the system was or whatever the company was I was working in. I was so fixated on that aspect. And I would do it. 2 years later, I get my review and I get my 4% raise and just be like, okay, what's next? And then working through that. And then there's obviously the fact that so many people, especially within the startup space, you jumped every 2 years to a new job. Having someone over 2 years old within a startup company was rare. And the people that were there, they're not made for that corporate structure. They would leave, right? And they'd bounce, and then they wouldn't get a 4% increase. They would get 35% increase. They get 50% increase on their salary over time. And that was like by far the way to go, like to make more money. And I slowly worked my way up. Didn't jump as much as I probably should have within that context, but I did. And, got to a certain point in my career where I was just like, all right, this is what it is. And this is what I was doing. But I was still so stressed out about, all right, what is my next step? Am I proving myself to get to the next level of what that is? And I look back and I say, all right, my best outcome in 25 years from now is to be a VP of engineering, VP of product at a place, or VP of customer success, or whatever that would be. And that bothered me because I didn't want that to be a thing. Within the last year, I've advanced my career more in the last year than I have in the 15 years working in the tech space like that. And it's all just a construct of what we believe in ourselves and what we're actually doing. I'm now the CEO. I'm now the CEO of a company. Like before, that doesn't happen because, and it's all fluff for what it is. So I think the idea here, right, is to help change that mindset into more of a shared network experience that we all have with each other and people around us to create a more cyclical and less, and this is going to be a weird word to say, but a less convenient way of selling our products, because we're not just pitch slapping people, right? We're actually going to be creating connections with people. And Brian, I haven't paid you any money. You haven't paid me any money. Maybe in some day in the future, we're going to exchange that would happen. Somehow
Right.
we would do some type of rev share model on something. I'm not sure. But the point is that I'm not asking Brian for money right now. And Vlad, can I call you Vlad? To your point, it's going to be hard to buy a house if I'm waiting for 2 years for someone to give me money. Like it's going to be hard. And we're here, I would assume, because we're all sitting in houses right now. Brian, I'm not sure where you're sitting because you have a background on.
I can get rid of my
I would
backdrop here.
I would assume it's a
Yeah.
house,
Yeah.
but the
In a bus
idea
down by
is
the river.
right. But the idea is that it is going to kind of suck to make that switch, that changeover into what that is. But we're also in a relatively safe and privileged space between us right now that we're able to
If we
even
wanted to
remotely
choose to do
entertain these
that,
ideas.
it wouldn't be
Yes,
tough to see if it would work within the next month, right? I mean,
right.
realistically, it's like, you're really never in that bad. It's always just manpower and what do you choose to do? Every life is just about a lot of choices. So we're
Mhm.
getting close to 1 o'clock or just right after 1 o'clock. I don't want to keep you guys all day. I know you guys probably have meetings and stuff, but thanks guys for showing up. This is an excellent discussion. This is exactly what I was hoping for, because I really want people to challenge what's going on, right? And think about, and any kind of input, and not only that, but you guys can connect and do whatever you like, however you guys can service others. So I mean, it's just a great platform to be able to do that. So any closing things you guys want to throw out there for, I mean, you guys kind of heard each other's what you needed. And thanks, Vladimir, for all your pointed questions, because those kind of questions need to be asked, right? I mean, definitely.
Well, I really didn't want to, make it hard for anyone. I was genuinely curious, and I'm still curious because it feels like you're seeing something that I'm not seeing. And I'm still a little bit puzzled about what's the idea, because maybe you can think about it, and next time you talk about, I'm thinking about what's the flaw. I mean, somebody is not doing something, or somebody is doing something wrong way, where there should be some conflict somewhere. It's, there was a book, what is that? Eliyahu Goldratt, The Goal, right? So he's a physicist, and he is saying like, there should be one thing that is, being a source of all the troubles. Like, what is that one thing? I don't have a clear idea. What is that one thing? After this
Actually,
conversation, I would like to know.
actually, I can answer that question because I don't think there's anything wrong with anything. I don't think that there's anything has ever been wrong with anything. All you're doing is seeing a big organism that is breaking down and reformulating into a newer, more evolved organism. It's exactly like evolution. When you look at the history of evolution, you see a structure that moved a limited amount of energy that died off, and then it formed a new structure that moved more energy. Whether it in the evolutionary record, it happens over and over. And so we're literally witnessing an evolution of to be able to move more energy, become a more creative society. Yeah, for sure. I don't think there's anything wrong with any of it. I think it was just part of a natural part of evolution.
Right. And how structures fit into that evolution then?
Yeah, if you look at every form of evolution, it evolved into a new structure that moved more energy, had a higher cognitive ability, could move more information in the geological record. I mean, that's the story of evolution. A new organism that was able to move more information in its environment. Yeah, a bigger brain. Bigger brain.
Great.
So thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
I think we'll end it there, right?
Yeah, sounds good. This is good, Brian. Thanks. Let us know when the next one is.
Awesome.
It is-
Yeah,
For sure.
weekly, I'll send you guys DMs. The next one, I didn't make this one reoccurring. So the next one is reoccurring. It's just weekly. So hopefully we can attract some more people and get some more potent questions, right? Yeah. Right on.
Working
Thanks,
on
Good
it.
guys.
stuff.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Take care. Pleasure to
Bye.
meet you.